Welcome to the Hour of Happy, where ambition meets joy and big dreams don't come with apologies. I am Devin Roof, entrepreneur, marketing expert, and your inside source for what it really takes to build a life that you love. Whether you're building a business, making a career leap, or just chasing the spark that lights you up again, this is your space to grow, laugh, learn, and remember who the heck you are. This is the Hour of Happy. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hour of Happy. I am so excited for this episode today because I have my friend Lisa Tarkington joining me, and we are going to dive into the world of public speaking. And what's really cool about this topic and why I wanted to talk about it is because public speaking is one of those things as a PR tactic or marketing tactic that can really accelerate and boost awareness for your business or organization. You don't have to be an entrepreneur or small business owner to benefit from this episode either. Public speaking is one of those life skills that is going to carry you throughout your entire life. And it's so needed right now, right? In the world of AI and everything else. So we are going to dive into this. You are going to learn all about how to structure a talk, how to choose a topic, how to set pricing, and all the good stuff in between. So Lisa, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. I'm obsessed with the name of your podcast. I'm so glad that you did that how cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I went back and forth on the name for a while, and I'm like, you know what? And then it just felt right.
Exactly.
And of course,
I'm shocked it wasn't taken.
I know.
Because it's so good.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. Yes. I did have help from a friend, my other friend, Christy. We were, of course, having cocktails one night. And I was like, and we were kind of spitballing. And so she did help me along with that. But it kind of goes with the whole brand and Bell Row. And for our listeners, Lisa and I go back over a decade now.
Literally.
We both went to Michigan State and attended the same clubs, organizations, were part of that, but really didn't connect until after college.
Which is insane to me. Insane that the world of Michigan State is actually not as big as people think it is too. So for us to not have met is crazy to me.
It is wild. It's wild. But we connected for a blogger meetup when Lisa had her blog called Self-Love Beauty, when it was a blog.
It was a baby. My first baby. I know.
So I'll let her share all about her background in a second, but it just is kind of a full circle moment. And we've been through a lot together professionally and personally and all of that.
Insane.
So just super pumped that you're here.
Calling Devin, he broke up with me, or what about this? And then business information. It's incredible, to think about the lives you live when you've seen, especially in your 20s and 30s, I would say, I look at my teen years compared to these last decade of my life, and it's incredibly different.
So different.
It's so different.
But that's what's so cool though about really working your network before you realize it's a network. That's how I feel about you, right?
100%.
And I always, when I'm teaching little courses or things, I always kind of drill that home is look around the room, because this is going to be your network when you start.
I got chills. Exactly.
All of that. And I feel
100%.
Totally. So, okay, let's go ahead and dive in today. Cool. And I want to start by having you share a little bit about your background and then what led to public speaking, because I didn't share this in my intro, but Lisa is absolutely killing it in the public speaking world right now. I mean, her workshops, she does keynotes, everything that she's doing, she's really carving a path for herself and is tremendously well at what she does. She's going to really give you guys some good stuff today. So I'm super pumped.
Thank you.
So let's share about your background a little bit.
So started at Michigan State, and I'll just start there. I really thought I would have a career in broadcasting. So it's funny that I have my own podcast and I'm a keynote speaker. Full circle again. I always say dreams that you had as a kid, don't ever lose those, because it usually comes out when you're ready for it to come. And I've seen that. I think about the first time I performed an NSYNC song on the steps of my parents' household, and I was always not a performer in the acting world, but more of I wanted to express myself in certain ways. And also in your 20s and 30s, you can also lose that a little bit. I did when I had lack of self-esteem and lack of confidence. And that's really honestly where my whole journey started. Was I was struggling. And when I was at Michigan State, there was this thing that called social media that was coming out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm really showing my age here.
I was going to say.
We had to take a social media class, and I'll never forget. And they were you need to create a Twitter Twitter, you need to create an Instagram, and you need to create a blog. And that's actually how my blog started, was at a Michigan State class that I had to take. It was called A Driver's License to Social Media. And it was for me to for me to graduate.
Okay.
So from there, I went and worked in corporate, loved my career there. And during that time, I was still building my blog, like writing stories along the way, which is how we've met. And so during that time, while I was building all of that, I was speaking, but like speaking, just like, oh, Lisa's going to speak in front of the conference room, or Lisa's going to do this. And so, but I always loved it. And my corporate career was incredible. I loved all of my different roles. I worked in public affairs for a corporate company. And during that time, again, like I said, like my blog was growing. Mm-hmm. And one day someone said to me, you should really turn your blog into a nonprofit. And I laughed. And I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. Well, lo and behold, I was given an opportunity to speak to a class of teenage girls. And I heard how they were speaking to themselves. And I was hearing different things. And I was like, wow, they don't have the tools to really help them with confidence. I think I need to take this to the next level. So I turned my blog into a nonprofit. I left my corporate job with $25 in my bank account, got a marketing job to pay the bills, and went full blown into really leading the nonprofit. And then over time, I exited the nonprofit this past year after 8 years of being there. But really, I mean, I was there since I was 22, if you think of, or 21 since I started the blog. So I'm not 21 anymore. Like 15 years later, I've exited, and I'm full-time into keynoting workshops, and I'm an associate certified coach through the International Coaching Federation, which is all part of the story, but I could go on for days and days because, as people can imagine, my life has had a lot of pivots, a lot of different moments, and so has everybody else's. So I'm giving you guys like the skinny of my life, and I'm sure as we chat, other things will come up, but love where I'm at today. I also think it's really cool that I get to be a career woman and a mom in this other part of my life. And I just think it's really cool to have the different eras as well.
1,000%. It's amazing. Yeah. And I love hearing stories like that again, because I feel like I always learn something new. I had no idea that self-love beauty started from.
Isn't that crazy? It's so funny to think about, like, yeah. And then there was a day where I was actually going to shut it down. This was like in my mid-20s. And I was like, okay, like powers above, God, whatever anybody believes. And I was like, if I'm not supposed to shut this down, you tell me within 24 hours. And I had 2 posts go viral. And at that time, it was like, 50,000 people were reviewing it. And I was like, well, guess I'm not quitting. And I just kept up, like I call them God winks, when like things show up in our lives that tell us like, don't give up.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. Diving more into the public speaking, I want to talk about maybe your first speaking opportunity and how you came up with that topic. And if those topics have changed today, or what does that look like? Let's talk about that for a second.
So if you were to ask me, like, if I was a public speaker 15 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, I am. And then I look back at the first time I was on stage, and I don't want to say awful. I would just say I did not have the skills I have today. But I always tell everybody, like, no one knew how to ride a bike and was great at it the first time. We had training wheels, most likely. So I always look at the first time where I had someone believe in me and was like, you should really be on stage. It was only 30 minutes to speak. And I'm not going to lie, I lasted 15 minutes. My content wasn't long enough.
Okay.
I went too quick. I got too nervous. I forgot things because I didn't know enough. I would say that because public speaking, or especially a keynote, is very different than just getting up there and give me a topic and then go all over the place. Like, it's a lot more structured. And I didn't know all of that when I started. So the topics then were really around self-love, because Self-Love Beauty was my blog. I still believe that self-love is like amazing and incredible, but right now I've shifted over my career into emotional intelligence, around leadership, and really pivoting with courage. So I'm really big on the pivots because I can relate. And a lot of companies can. Like, companies pivot. Companies go through uncertainty, through change. So I love talking about getting like the middle of like, how do we overcome these changes to get to the next level? Or like, how do we get through the storm to the rainbow type of thing. So yes, it's definitely changed over the time.
Okay. So coming up with that topic then, Is that based on your lived experiences, or how did you come up with those new topics now?
Yeah. So in the beginning, so I have 3 different frameworks that I teach, and they're all in my workshops and my keynotes. But I would say really it came from my own experience being a leader, but also since I'm a coach, I get to coach a variety of different people. So I see where the themes are coming from. And so I started to notice, okay, what does it look like to lead with yourself first so then you can lead other people? How do you then operate at your best? People are always looking at performance hacks, but like, really, what does that look like? Because I don't want to wake up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And so like, how do I still operate at my best, but like find what works for me? And then the other one is like really around like, well, if we're struggling to like move forward, is that fear what's stopping us from like pushing forward? And so I took everybody's experiences and then I took my own and I built frameworks that I tested out. These are tools. These are emotional intelligent tools. And so, yes, lived experience, but also there's data behind it and also other people's lived experience. I wanted to make sure it resonated.
Okay.
And so once I started to hear people like, oh yeah, I'm really lacking in this. I'm like, well, that's self-awareness. Wow. Okay. I didn't realize how many people were struggling with self-awareness. Okay. Let's dive into that. And then I found like, oh my gosh, I love self-awareness. So then once I got excited, that means that then it's easier to speak on it because I love it.
Oh, I heard so many things in that little chunk. Okay, so the first thing is you kind of narrowed it down to 3 topics.
Yeah, 3 sections. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
and so for
frameworks.
listeners, when you're thinking about a topic, maybe you don't want 10. Maybe you want to focus and fine tune a select few, 3 maybe.
Yeah, so I will tell you, Devin, for a long time, I would customize whatever anybody wanted.
Okay.
Because I didn't know. And I don't regret things, but I really think I spent time on the wrong things.
Yeah.
Because I was meeting, like, I didn't know what I wanted to stand for or what really got me excited. And again, like, that's part of life. Like, you're trying to figure things out. But then I would realize, like, if someone wanted to talk to me about something, what was that? Like, what did I really want to talk about? Because it is exhausting customizing everything for everybody.
Right.
And so once you find your topics, because if someone asks you today, like, well, what do you speak on? You don't want to say anything, because that's actually not true.
Yeah.
No one wants me talking about accounting, insurance, right? Like, I don't even talk about marketing anymore, even though that's my background, because that is not where I'm at anymore.
Yep.
Let the marketing PR people be the gurus there. So yes, like, I'm going on a tangent because I'm very passionate about finding your topics and finding your niches.
Yes, and something that you're excited about. When you said that, I think that's so important, for our listeners too, is you don't necessarily have to be an expert in something. It's like, think about what you're passionate about and maybe what you want to learn. Just like you said with those examples from your workshops and what you were hearing and the feedback you were getting, what you were seeing. So that could be really good for any of our small business listeners or entrepreneurs. If you're struggling to kind of think of what to speak on, think of it in that sort of way, like Lisa just explained.
Yes, and also pain points. Like, what are people's pain points and how are you helping solve that?
Absolutely.
Because I'm not going to go and listen to someone unless I usually look at the topic list and I'm thinking about like, oh, how is this going to help me in my life?
For sure.
So guess what your audience is doing? They want you to help them.
That's right.
And so that's what, why do we go to a dentist? Why do we go to a doctor? Why do we go to PR? We all have pain points and we're looking for support. That's the same thing of what a keynoter has to do as well.
Absolutely.
Or just a public speaker.
Absolutely. And so when it comes to public speaking, because this is a fear for a lot of people, right? Did you ever feel like that? Or did you have to kind of like, push down voices in your head before you step on stage? Or is there anything you do to prepare aside from practicing your speech and things like that to kind of help you deliver it in a way that you want to?
Yeah. So I would say I always go back and I can like picture the moment in my head when I was VP of student council in high school and I had to speak in front of the whole class, like the whole like auditorium. And I remember faking being sick.
No,
I did. No. I was like, I'm too sick. I can't like speak. And everybody looked at me like, no, you're still doing it. And I remember that moment because I had so much anxiety that I wanted to just like lie and get out of it. And I remember in that moment being like, Lisa, just like, you've got to like grow up. And I'm so glad that I listened to that because I wanted to be a broadcaster. Like I wanted all of these things, but I wasn't doing the steps. Like how many of us like say, oh, I really want that. and then we don't do anything
Right.
about it. And so I remember that moment being like, well, got to get over that fear at some point. And I think it was just like starting to get out of your own head and actually have lived experience, because I look at people and people will say like, well, I want to be like this person. Like, but you're not doing the reps like that person. And so I think now, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I just don't think I knew. I guess there's a difference between public speaking and keynoting. So we can kind of get into that too, of like where we want to go for today as well. But I would say like knowing what you're talking about, like I practice 45 minutes every day. I mean, on the drive here, I practiced my whole way here because I have a keynote next week.
That's right, baby.
You know,
Let's
like,
go.
yeah, like it's like reps, like, and I like know my stuff and I'm still making sure, because now it's tweaking. So when you start, it's like you're trying to figure out the topic, then you're trying to find the stories and the points that you're trying to make. And then now I'm in the finessing. But guess what? Whenever I create a new one, I'm starting back over here.
That's right.
You know?
And being an athlete, you know, I think that comes maybe naturally for us. We were both athletes and stuff, but it holds true, you know. Train for go, perform for show.
Yes.
When you're stepping on that stage, that's not the time to be like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready, da, da, da.
Yes.
You know, you are constantly training so that you are ready.
Yes.
Anytime that
Yes.
opportunity strikes.
Well, and you make a great point with athletes. Athletes have coaches. So I have a speaking coach. And I'm very open about that, because some people are like, well, you're a keynoter, you should know it all. I'm like, no, does an athlete not have a coach?
Right.
Does like no one have mentors? Like I coach businesses and leaders as well. And that's because sometimes you need a different perspective. So I meet with my coach all the time and he's tough on me and I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Because then I'm like, oh, you're seeing something that I don't see. And so back to that point, I love that analogy of like everybody needs a coach. Mm-hmm. And where do you need that coach? And so even speakers should have coaches.
I love it. I love it. I want to touch on structuring speeches, because I know you mentioned that in the chunk too. So it was like coming up with a topic, how to decide on one. We have that step. Now talk about how you structure, and you can keep it loose, right? Because I want to keep it flexible today, whether it's a workshop or a keynote.
Yep.
I know the
Yep.
keynote is heftier, so you can kind of approach this question however you like, but just some basic tools or steps to give people an idea on how to structure their talk once they come up with a topic.
Yeah, so I'll say this. I came from the workshop world, so everything that I taught within the nonprofit space was very workshop based. I did not realize how hard it was going to be to go to the keynote world. And I mean that in the best way, because workshop space, you can give a lot more information. You can have conversations with your audience, like, right? And I remember going to the keynote and I'm like, wait, so I got to like put all of this into like 45 minutes. And no, you actually have to take out a lot. And so I would say when you're thinking about frameworks, it's thinking about what's the points I'm even trying to make?
Okay.
What do I want the audience to walk away with? Like start there. What's the pain point and what do I want them to walk away with? And then, I mean, there's a whole framework for anything, but I would say the biggest thing is storytelling you need to know. And then also, how does that story take you to the point? Because a lot of people can have great stories and have no point, and then it doesn't work. And so I was taught, at least for keynotes, it's have an opening, have different modules, like different pieces, and then have a really strong closing. And so your opening, like, you got to make them laugh, or you got to let them lean in within the first 30 seconds.
Oh, that is so good. I love all of that. That's so good. Okay. I want to talk about pricing structure and things like that.
Yep.
Because this can get tricky, right?
It is.
And stepping into this world, I think most people wouldn't even know kind of how to price themselves out. I mean, is it based on the length of a talk? Is it a keynote versus a workshop? Does the length not really matter? Is it more about the value you're adding? How do you set your pricing, and how do you recommend people do that?
No, that's a great question. So I guess you have to ask yourself is, what are you trying to get out of it? Because I think there's also a difference in public speaking world of, you said this earlier when you said business people, like it's a really good skill to have, good for PR. So sometimes you do it for free, knowing that the audience that's in the room is going to want your package or what you're bringing to the table. And so it's called like back of the room sales, in a way of like, what am I selling these people through my talk, that I know that while I might be doing it free for this company, I'm going to be in front of the right audience.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
So that's huge.
Yes.
And some people don't love that. So I'm just going to give like different ways in which people do it. So some people do it this way. Some people actually pay to be on stage. And that's something that I didn't know a lot about, but there are people who will pay to be on stage at big conferences as a sponsor to get in front of the right audiences too. So you could pay thousands of dollars to be a sponsor, but you are secured a speaking spot. And then guess what? You're in front of the right audience.
Okay.
You're not probably sponsoring an event. Like you as a marketing person, PR person wouldn't probably go talk to an audience that you're never going to want to market for, right? Like, and so you're going in front of that right audience. So that's another way. And then the other way is you're getting paid to speak all the way from, $50 all the way. There are some people that make $30,000, right? There is a big range depending on the audience, your background, what you've done, and how long you've been speaking. But that's an audience where sometimes you're just going in to speak and maybe you'll never talk to that company or that conference again. There's a variety of different ways. And so I always ask people like, well, what is your end goal? If you want to be a full-time keynoter, I would, all three of those would work really well. If you're looking to grow your business, you can do a variety of those things too. And so you just have to decide where you want to spend your time as well.
Okay, that's good. One thing I'll add to what Lisa said too, in terms of like, free speaking, there's ways that you could view some of this stuff too that maybe isn't necessarily a monetary, like you're getting paid for in dollars, but there's things that you could benefit from this conference in addition to the audience. Like for example, if they have a professional photographer there, you could ask, can I have the photos, after I speak? If they have videographers there, any sort of like marketing assets like that, don't ever be afraid to ask for when negotiating some of this stuff. But yes, in front of the right audience is huge because that can lead to more things, down the road. Yeah.
Or a book. Like if you have a book, say, I want everybody in the audience to have a book and do a book signing afterwards. Yes. You might do it for free. So I think the hardest part with pricing is there are some speakers who have like, this is my set price, and they do this full time. They do like 52 keynotes a year, right? There are some that are like, I just have this part of my business funnel. It's part of my business funnel. And so to your point, it's what are you looking as your outcome, as your end goal?
Sure. I want to drill deeper into the pricing though, because I know that based on the research I've done, you're more in the world though, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, there's not as many female speakers as there are male speakers. I think it was something like 30%.
Yeah.
And something smaller like that. And usually women tend to price way lower than men do. And so back to the actual pricing, because, girls listening to this, I always push you to be like, no, show your value, price yourself accordingly, push. I know Lisa and I have conversations about this too, just with our stuff that we're working on and things. So for our listeners, they're wanting to get started. Maybe they're brand new at this. How do they set that initial pricing? Because I want them to try and get paid.
Yes.
I appreciate the free stuff. And yes, absolutely do not sleep on that, you guys. But when it comes to setting your first price, how could they do that?
So I always say, people always ask me, Lisa, where do I start? And I always say, well, the first thing is people are usually coming to you saying, what's your price? So if people aren't asking your price, you probably are doing still some free stuff, which is completely fine. For a while there, people didn't ask me that. I'll never forget my first check, and someone slid it over to me and gave me $500. I thought I was rich. It was like honestly, that's still great money, right? And then I was like, okay, there's something here. And then the following year, I put more work into the keynote space. So again, like this is a finessing piece that like I have worked on. And he looked at me, same guy, same company, and said he doubled it. And it was because I did the effort and the energy. I didn't go in thinking this is what I deserved. I knew because I had the background and the confidence and I knew what I could bring to the audience. So I would say to any woman out there, I want you to look really strong in the mirror. And I want you to write down, what are you worth?
Okay.
What is your experience? And what's the value that you're bringing the audience? Because I know a lot of women who would not even know how to answer that. Mm-hmm. There are many women who would know how to answer that as well. And so I say start there. And even men too, because I think first, before we even talk about price, you have to know the value of yourself.
Absolutely.
And that is really big for me because as a keynoter, I actually don't think I've ever got paid for not my worth. But like when I did free, guys, I needed it to be free because I wasn't ready, and I learned so much. And so I took that as like I was learning.
Yep.
But now it's a different experience, different value. And I think it depends on your audience too and what their budget is. So I think it's a fair question to always ask someone, what is your budget?
Okay.
So I'm going to say that. Like, I don't ever say yes to anything until someone shares their budget with me. I'm seeing more people asking for the budget, or what's your price range before they'll share their budget. There are ways to finesse and ask the question again of like, well, actually, it'd probably be better if I knew so I can work within your means. And if they say, we only have $50, let's just go low here, $50. And you don't want to do it because it's not your audience, because like it's not going to bring value. There is no photos, there is no video, like all of these other things. I want you to really look hard in the mirror and tell yourself, then you're going to say no.
I love that.
And I want you to do that because the time and effort that goes into a keynote, the time and effort that goes into public speaking, like I have spent thousands of dollars on my coach. I've spent thousands of dollars of my own time. And so you have to know the value, the ROI of yourself.
Okay.
And so again, it hasn't come overnight for me. It still isn't. Like I work every day and I still do a ton of outreach, but I also have said no to things. I have. And it's tough to do that. But I also have to look at, well, what's the time that I'm going to put into this? Because that is time away from my son, but it's time away from my family. And if it's going to be worth it, I have to know that the value is there. So I think pricing varies all over the place. Like there are times where I've been paid what I want to be paid. Other times I have negotiated, but I've also then back of the room sales. Or I'm like, you know what? I don't care because they have all of the people in the audience that I want to get in front of. And so I'll do 50% off knowing that then they are allowing me to do back of the room sales. And the other day I got one where I got 5 keynotes from it.
Okay.
And so to me, and I made all those people pay full price.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've mentioned a lot on this podcast, if you listen frequently, you've heard me say this many times, but saying no creates room for opportunities that are a better fit or more right for you. Yeah. And so in addition to the family stuff or the personal stuff that you want to be around for, you are really leaving room for those right opportunities, and it's okay to say no.
Yeah. And I like to remind people, like the celebrities out there who are getting on the stages, they have a name. They have that influence. Like I'm Lisa Tarkington. I am not Michelle Obama, right? Yeah. Like we are in 2 different lanes. So what she's getting and she's just getting on those stages is not where I'm at all. And so they always say like, look at where the opportunities are. Is there schools you can talk to? Is there a library that you can speak at? Like starting there because it is reps.
Yeah.
Even the other day, I love my husband. He goes to as many keynotes as he can with me. And afterwards I said, what did you think? And he said, you did great. I still have notes. And I like share that because I'm really big on it's a reps, it's learning. And like, he was like, we were in the car and I was like, yeah, when I said this, like my tone probably needed to be this. And he said, yes. And when you shared this story, you could have went deeper here. And so again, this is my world and this is where I live now, right? This is my life. And so when I think about keynote and public speaking for companies who also have other things besides just keynote and public speaking, it's noticing too, like, okay, does that story then help someone articulate their pain points, what to do? Am I helping solve the problem? Like, why are you even on the stage?
Absolutely. And I love what you said too about you never stop pushing yourself or learning and growing from that. I think once in our own brains, if we're like, I'm the expert, I will never have that mindset. You're the type that won't either. I don't know if it's like a millennial thing or what. I don't know what it is.
Millennials, we're struggling, man. No, I'm just kidding.
we always are hungry for more and doing better and pushing ourselves harder. And I think that really speaks to what the next 5, 10, 15 years of your career is going to look like, because you're never going to stop. And I love that. I love that. Yeah. So the first time you got paid a higher amount, did you feel more pressure than other talks? Were you more nervous? I mean,
oh my gosh.
What was that like?
The scariest thing I've ever done. And I would say like, I knew the value that I brought at that point. I remember the value, but then I just told myself, okay, now you have to show it. And I put a ton of pressure on myself.
Yeah.
I really did. And I think I also put too much in there because I wanted to prove, look at all this that I can bring to the table. So I just like jammed it packed. And I'm really big. I teach self-awareness, but it's a tool that I'm very big on for myself. And I remember the eyes glazing over because I was an 8 a.m. and they were partying all the night before. And I did not have my structure set up the way that I should have. I was just pounding them with more information, because I was trying to prove see why you brought me here? I have all this to share.
Is that a millennial thing too?
I feel like that's and then I'll never forget the end. I shared a quote. And afterwards, the leader came up to me and said, wow, that quote really stuck with me. And I was like, that's what stuck. But guess what? It was that simple.
Yeah.
But it was that piece. I shared a story that aligned to that verse saying here's 20 different ways in which you can improve your self-awareness. No, I used a story and I aligned to it. So I know I'm kind of going off on that, but I'm sharing that because I did put pressure on myself. I then hired a speaking coach.
Okay.
Because I told myself, I'm good, but I want to be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And so I knew that there was a gap. There's something that I was missing. And so having someone who had 30 years of experience sit down with me, and we did 4 months together. And he still works with me. I adore him. I was just with him last week, and we were able to tweak. And he said, yeah, when you shared that was a lot to take in. And I'm like, okay, great feedback, because he knows where I want to go.
Yeah.
And so I think along the way, as you're pricing, you also have to be able to take feedback. You have to be able to listen, and then also know your gut. I had one person tell me, you should really take this out. But every time I spoke about it, I felt it in my body that I needed to say it. And I've never taken it out of my keynote. It's really understanding, I don't have imposter syndrome, because I was going to use that word, but I'm like, I don't really think it's that, because I do know my stuff. You know your stuff. We use imposter syndrome when it's no, we just have butterflies and we just need to go deep.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I'm just in this space of finessing it. And I think that's with anybody in public speaking. You check your ums. You've probably noticed how many times I've said right today. Right is the word that I'm working on right now, but or ands or ahs, mine is right. And I'm working on that right now.
Love it. Love it. See, babies, we are constantly growing and learning.
Yes,
I love that.
yes.
I love that. So back to the more men are in the game than women. Why do you think that is? Is it we don't know where to look for these opportunities, or is it a committee thing where people are picking these speakers? I mean, how does that kind of work, or why do you think that is?
Yeah, when I first heard that stat, I'm not going to lie, I didn't believe it. And I think that I didn't believe it because I follow so many women speakers. And so I realized, well, that's because I want to be like I want to learn from them. That has nothing to do with the stat. The stat is actually probably very true. And so what I've noticed now that I'm in this space and seeing other women is we're waiting for that perfect moment before we go on stage, or, oh, my story's not good enough, or what if people don't like it? And we tell ourselves these stories. I'm not saying men don't do that. I actually can't speak for them. I can just speak for what's going on in my brain and what the women around me have said to me. And I've just seen it where that's one piece. I'm also going to say this, which might not be everybody's favorite thing, but I have a son. I have a business, and there's a lot going on in the women's brain.
Yes.
Where I do want more of something, but I also am juggling 20 other things.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so glad you said that, by the way.
I think it's not talked about enough. And I think as a mom, I'm probably a little bit more sensitive to it now because I didn't understand it until I had a lot of mental load before a kid. And then you throw a kid in there and you throw the dynamics of trying to keep up with them. I mean, I have a 1-year-old. So every month it's what's the milestone? Wait, what is he supposed to be eating? So my brain is elsewhere. And I'm not saying that again, I have the best husband in the world, but he gets to go to work. And so I don't know if that has something to do with it. Again, I'm going from the mom perspective. I know there's a lot of speakers who don't want kids or don't have kids, but I think it might have I don't know, maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
I love that. That's so true.
I don't know.
It's so true. We carry a lot.
We do. We totally do. So that could be part of it. And then I also think too, I've talked to a lot of speakers where you just want it to be so perfect.
Yes.
And I was just with someone yesterday who's finessing a piece on my keynote because I'm really struggling in a piece. And he said, well, we won't know until you do it. And he's right. I have to get out on stage and test it out and see, did the audience lean in? Did they not? There was something that I put into a keynote a year ago where I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. No one laughed besides me. And so, I'm like, okay, take the data and move forward.
Yeah.
Versus saying, I'm not good at this. And I think that that's another thing too, is I now look at things as data versus saying I'm not good at something. It's like, well, no, that just didn't hit. Okay. How do I pivot and move forward?
Amen.
And I used to not do that. I used to dwell.
Yeah.
I used to dwell and say, well, then why am I in this industry? What am I doing? And I think women tend to be harder on themselves. We have that perfectionism. We have the people pleasing where then it's, we're trying to do all of this because we want to show our worth.
Yeah.
When really some of the most simple things women have said to me is what's really stuck with me.
Right.
So I don't know if that answers the question because I don't know 100% for sure, but I do know that those are things that I'm seeing within my industry right now.
That makes total sense. I think you answered that great. And it goes back to, again, something we talk about a lot on this podcast is like, just try. And like you said, with riding a bike, we always start with training wheels and we don't expect to never fall.
Yes.
We have to fall when we're learning how to do something, especially if we're going all in.
Exactly.
And so, I think that's so true what you said. And we're so hard on ourselves. And then we talk ourselves out of it when we're feeling scared and we're not ready yet and da-da-da. That's why too, I really appreciate you talking about the free moments, like the free speaking opportunities, because you can really get your legs then, going for this sort of thing and feel more comfortable. And you don't have the pressure of like, I'm getting paid this much for this. And what if I do bad? You can kind of take that off and fine tune and at least get yourself out there. Try.
Exactly. And I think feedback is a really big gift when it's given by the people that actually matter. So when my coaches give it to me, they're experts in this field. So I'm going to take their feedback. I also take my husband's feedback. And I think that is something that, while he's not in my industry, he knows these stories. He's been at half of these stories.
Yes.
So when afterwards he says, well, you missed these key parts. And I thought, well, why would anybody care about that? And he said, that is actually what I cared about was like, I share a story about like going on a cliff and how like I'm climbing up a cliff and it's either hang onto a chain or die. Like literally. And he said the way that you painted it, it wasn't as scary. Like you like downplayed how scary that was. He goes, the audience would have loved to have probably known like, that was like life or death moment, because they could probably relate to moments in their life of fear. And I realized like he was able to articulate something that I missed because he was there. And so I think feedback's a gift, especially if you're doing like free things when it's around people who understand it.
Okay.
I also think my other friends would be like, you did great. Thank you. I actually need you in my life too to validate me.
Yes.
Thank you. Claps to me, right? Like, I need that, but I also need that people are like, like you did great, but here's this, or your body language, or you use the right word 17 times, you know? And so I think that has been so helpful in my journey, but you have to be willing to take that feedback.
Okay. That's so great. And I love that Mark gives you all of that feedback too. I think that's that's so cool.
It is cool. I think it's funny when you're like, no, I just want you to tell me that I'm great. And he's like, you are great, but I thought you wanted to he said to me the other day, I thought you wanted to be better. And I was like, yeah, I do. Yep. And so I think, you'll notice it a lot now. So I think every time we drink. No,
that's just, you knew what I was going to say. It's a drinking game now.
And so I think that's been really helpful to have a cheerleader, but also someone who knows your long-term goals.
Yes.
And is willing to go through the hard times with you. Because again, hiring a speaking coach was a family conversation of like, hey, this is the money that I'm going to put towards this because I want to grow in this space. I've always invested in myself. And we joke every year, he's like, what program are you going to take? What kind of coach are you going to have? Because I have a coach for business and leadership, even though I coach that. And then I have a speaking coach. And I think that's important because those are two areas that I want to grow in.
That's so cool. How did you find your speaking coach?
So that's the cool thing about the speaking industry. If no one's ever heard of the National Speaking Association, highly recommend checking it out. Even if you just want to learn public speaking, I think there's the Michigan chapter is amazing.
Okay.
They get together in person every other month. We do virtual, and the speaking world is really incredible because we just want to help each other. And I think that that's so cool. And so I actually asked other speakers, who did you use? And then I got a slew of a variety of different people, and then I interviewed.
Smart.
I interviewed coaches because I wanted to find the one that was best for me. I will never forget, I had a woman who was she scared the crap out of me because she was so intimidating. And I realized I just wanted her to like me. So I knew she couldn't be my coach because I was just going to do whatever she wanted. Because and I had this other guy where I was like, I want you to be hard on me, but like, please know, like, I also am a people pleaser. So I want to be able to banter a little bit. And so I picked him because of how I felt. And so interviewing was really great. And I was all through other coaches. And I think that's the cool thing is like everything that I do in this world is a lot of pieces from other coaches or people that know people, your community, your connections.
And network.
And that network is huge. And it's been really cool when I get to cheer people on. I mean, I had this opportunity a year ago. Someone reached out and said, I know that you don't speak on this. We're looking for a speaker. Do you have anybody? Well, I got to give them 5 other people's names, and then they interviewed those people.
Amazing.
And I thought that was really fun because then I know like they're going to get a great speaker, and I didn't have to say, oh, I can do that, because what they were asking me to speak on, yeah, I could have. That would have taken me hours, hundreds of hours to build, and I never would have wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
So it's, again, my reputation on the line too of who I put in front of people too. So I think that's the cool piece as well. Once people know what you speak on, they're more willing to put you forward. Now, if you said to me, I speak on anything, I'm probably not going to think of you when someone comes to me of like, do you have someone that speaks to sales industries? Like, I can now name people, but if you told me that you speak to everybody, when those specific ones come to me, I'm not going to think of you.
Right. That makes total sense.
So that's another niche piece too.
Yeah. So even when it comes back to picking our topic, really think about that. Okay.
Exactly. And who you want to speak to.
Yep.
Like, there are people where I've spoke to, I'm like, I'm good if I don't speak to that audience again. But you don't know sometimes until you're in it. And I'm also like open to a variety of different places. It's just you lean in more into certain areas than others, depending on your stories and who you resonate with.
Okay. So when it comes to finding speaking opportunities, where should someone look, or how did you find your first few? I hear, 2 different avenues of these coming in, right? Referrals from your network.
Yep.
People reaching out to you directly because they've seen you speak somewhere else. But for those getting started, they don't have that yet, right? So where do you recommend they go to look and find opportunities?
Yeah. So there's this really great thing called ChatGPT and Claude that people can use if they want to. Literally Google search conferences happening in this industry in this state. Start there. There is a ton of ways that you can do it. And I would say, for someone starting out, I'm going to go the free way just because it's like easier for right now, and then I'll get to like the more paid, but there is a lot of proposals that you can submit. So there might be a PR conference coming up. They're probably looking for proposals for different people to speak on. Submitting right there. And then you can submit sometimes 2 as well. So you could do 2 topics and see which one they pick, and just see if you get chosen. And that also just gets you your reps in. So if anybody's starting out, that is where I would start, because you're getting your reps in, you're getting in the industry, and then you're picking the conferences that you want to go to. So if you're, looking to help the sales industries, okay, well then go to try to get into a sales conference as one of the breakouts. You might not be on the big stage yet. I mean, more than likely, you're probably not going to be on the big stage if you've never keynoted before, and you have to be okay with that.
Yes.
I still haven't been on some stages where I would love to be. And I mean, I'm not expecting to. You got to be humbled, and you just got to realize, like, I will get there one day, but where am I right now in my journey? I am not making thousands and thousands of dollars like my friends who have been doing it for 30 years.
Sure.
It's very different. And I'm big on, I work towards what my goals are. And that's the same thing with speaking. If you want to do more of it, there are different ways to start in that space. And the other thing is I'll do a shout out to the National Speaking Association of Michigan. Like join the chapter.
Okay.
They're phenomenal humans who just want to support you on your journey. And I love when we all get together. I learn from them, but also we have incredible speakers who helps you. How do you pitch yourself? How do you formulate a talk? How do you do different, like get different gigs? And there are people out there who literally teach that for a living, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's so great. That's awesome. And one thing too, I'd add in when it comes to speaking is, especially for the free ones, also think about an industry or a nonprofit or something that is near and dear that maybe you'd love to always do for free. Yeah. Maybe it doesn't lead to future things, but it's like, for me, it'd be like animals. I love anything like humane society or helping the animals, whatever I could do, it will always be free for them because I'm passionate about that and that sort of thing. I also love, love, love helping entrepreneurs and small business owners I love that. Like that is where I would love to be like, if you're a small business, this is how you can like do this, this, and this on a shoestring budget, or do, get more exposure. Like stuff like that is important to me. So maybe think about a cause that you would love to support and start there, too, and see if your talk could maybe be framed around that. Because I know too, again, back to self-love beauty and hearing these girls and meeting them and you're like, okay, they're missing something here. I mean, it started from wanting to really help them and the way they spoke to themselves. And
and I'm big on like, I didn't choose this career to become rich. I chose this because I wanted to make an impact.
Yes.
And I think if you're in it for those reasons, you then finesse where you need to. And so I just want to make an impact. I always say I just want everybody to become the best version of themselves. And so I'm using speaking and coaching as my avenues to do that. So it's like, to your point, you want to help in certain areas. So you've chose your career to be that avenue. And so when people take the money out for a second and they think about the why behind it, you have to be very clear on that because there are ups and downs. I don't know anybody in their career who's been like, it's been so easy. No, you have your why of why you've started. And so then once you do the reps, the money does follow. I always say the money does follow, but you have to understand your why behind it first.
Okay, that's so great. Personal question now.
Yeah.
Have you found public speaking and learning how to structure your talks and just fine tuning how you articulate things, have you found that's helped in your marriage or like personal relationships when you're speaking with people?
I laugh because, as you can tell, I'm already finessing everything that I'm saying when I'm noticing what I do and don't do. I would say 100% because it helps you realize, am I doing what I'm teaching? Full transparency.
I love that. I love that.
And then I'm honest. I teach certain frameworks and I literally shared this the other day. Hey, I'm working on this. This is what happened last week. This is how I didn't do it. And I'm honest about it because I think as much as you know the information, you're still going to mess up, but it's now having the awareness of, okay, now what do I do? So absolutely. I mean, I teach something around active listening and you can probably ask my husband. There are days where I'm like, yep. And he's like, did you even hear anything that I said? Yeah. And so it's really good when I have to practice what I preach because if you're going to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. And I'm really big on that, at least for what I do.
Absolutely. That's great. This prompted another question. I was going to start wrapping us up, but I have to ask this one more time because how you answered that made me think of something else. Have you messed up on stage before? And when that has happened, what did you do? Just talk about that a little bit so we can kind of like prepare people, because guess what, guys, like when it comes to public speaking, it's not going to be perfect. And I think that is the tip you can always remember. Like, you're not going to be perfect. Like Lisa said earlier, you might forget things, but it's all in the comeback or how you adjust in the moment. Mm-hmm. And always remember too, your audience doesn't know what you're going to say. They don't know it, right? So there's a lot of opportunity there, being gentle with yourself, knowing mistakes are going to happen, but just maybe thinking about, okay, if this happens, what do I do?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
I'll actually share a few things that are coming up for me. So the first thing is what I was taught later on in my career was, if you be ready for anything technical to happen, be ready to do it if your slides don't work, all of the technical piece. So what I would say is know your talk without slides. Know whatever you're going to say without, okay, once this slide's up, then I say this. No, just know it. The other thing that is very helpful when you're messing up is if it is your story and if it's something that you know so well, it's harder to mess up. When you are telling someone else's story that you actually don't know, this, like you're stealing a story or like not like feeling fully into it or know the topic very well, it is a lot more likely that you will mess up because you're not embodying it. Now, a lot of the stories I share, I'll share some corporate stories from like certain companies, but I know it so well because I've researched that company so much. The other thing is I do a lot of lived stories.
Yeah.
So if you even mess up on how you're presenting it, to your point, the audience doesn't know it, but it's so real that you can't mess up the story because you lived it.
Yep.
And so if you can share more lived experiences tied to a tool or action or an outcome, that is helpful. It helps you with messing up less, I would say. When in the moment, if you are, it's always take a deep breath. Just pause.
Okay.
The audience doesn't know that the pause was not planned. Actually, I think a lot of speakers should pause more, including myself. And I think we don't. And so we just pause, regroup yourself. You know, some people could maybe have a word or something, but if you know, like you're like how we structure topics, there's like the opening, your modules. If you know what the next module is going to be, you might just go right into that, or you just realize, okay, I missed a whole piece. Okay, I'm just going to like wrap up this module and go into the next one.
There you go.
Just wrap it up and move to the next one. Don't tell the audience, "Whoo, yeah, I didn't mean to say any of that stuff," because they didn't know.
Right.
You just pause. And I always say before I speak, I always do an intention beforehand of, I hope whatever I say works for the audience. Like someone in the audience is really going to resonate. And my speaking coach said this best, where he said, don't say you guys, don't say you're speaking to all, but you're also speaking to one. And so really think about the you. And I think that that's been really helpful for me to realize whatever I do, even when I'm messing up, I'm speaking to one person in the audience, even though there's a ton. And that's helped me, because how many times have we saw a speaker and we're like, oh my gosh, they're speaking to me. That feels great. And if you can do that, just know that that is the most impactful thing, is understanding the why of why you're on stage.
Okay. That's so great. That's awesome. Before we wrap, is there anything else that you would like to leave our listeners with, a tip or advice?
Yeah, I would say the best thing that's ever happened in my career when it comes to speaking is, I might get emotional. It's, I got to come home to myself. And I'm really big on that. And I got chills even saying that, because I think that it's very easy to want to put on a persona of who you want to be on stage and be polished and be perfect. And I've never related to a speaker who's been that way. I relate, they know their stuff, but they're real, they're honest, and they're themselves. I have a very unique way that I'm on stage, and my other friends do too. So I have a friend who DJs on stage. You don't want me DJing on stage, right? But I think it's once you realize who you are, it helps you so much show that to the world. And we all have these really cool gifts that I really want people to just bring out into the world. Stop being scared of it. Just take that one step. And I'm living that right now. And so I think it's just really like every time I do something, I'm like, oh, that didn't feel good. It's like, well, that's because it didn't align to who I am.
That's
okay,
right.
Let's change up how I word that so it feels like Lisa said that, not someone's opinion of how I should say that. Like, I love people's thoughts, but I have to go back to, I got to say it at the end of the day and believe it. So I would say that that is just one thing. And then if you need support, there are so many people in this world who are willing to support you. I have people like every day I do voice notes to. I literally have a keynoter that I'm meeting with this afternoon who just listened to my recent keynote, and she's going to provide me feedback.
Nice.
Because I want to learn and I want to get better, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And I think that that is where people struggle of like, what if I'm vulnerable? It's like, well, I would prefer you to be vulnerable than you say you're great at it. Well, then I'm not going to relate to you.
No, not at all.
So that's what I would say there.
It's so true.
And if anybody needs anything, like I'm here. I've had so many people help me along my journey. And so I'm really big on you have to give because I've received. And I still hope people give me advice. And so I think that that is one thing that I will always do for folks as well.
Absolutely. I love that. This has been such an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for being
gosh,
an open book.
anything for you.
And sharing everything. I love you.
Seriously.
It really is so valuable because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here, like we talked about in the beginning, you know, whether it's to get more exposure to your brand or business or to just grow personally or try something new. And I just love everything you shared. I know it's going to hit hard with a lot of people and help them get started. So thank you so much.
Yes.
And let people know where they can find you, how they can find your podcast, if they want to get in touch.
So if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website, lisatarkington.com. There's a contact us page. Check it out. If you're looking for coaching, my coaching information's out there. My speaking information is out there. My speaking reel is out there. And then I have a podcast called The Confident Podcast, which Devin was on when we were like starting out. I think this was like 2018.
Yes, it was.
2018 through 2019, which is insane. And so I'm willing to help anybody with any of that. And then I have a wait list that is happening right now. If you want to sign up for the wait list, just go to my website. I'm launching a group coaching program this fall. So I'm happy to support people along on their journey as well, especially if you're trying to grow in business and leadership and speaking.
That is so exciting. Congratulations on that. I didn't even
you.
know that yet.
Yes, I know. I was going to share it on the podcast. This is the first audience that gets to hear it.
Boom. I love that. So definitely give Lisa a follow. Thank you so much again for joining today. And thank you all for listening. And until next time, I hope you find your hour of happy in every single day.